Hi, I'm Linda Eedes from Foord Asset Management, and I'm joined today by Nick Balkin, who is our Chief Investment Officer here in South Africa, and of course also a portfolio manager for our multi-asset funds as well as the Foord Equity Fund. And today we're going to be talking about an element of our top-down process. Those who are familiar with Foord's investment process will know that we have both a top-down element to our process as well as a bottom-up element which actually populates the portfolio with individual securities. And we're going to be talking about thematic investing because a lot of themes make their way into our portfolio. So let's start first, Nick, with how do we go about actually identifying a particular theme?
Yeah, thank you. Well, you can't be too prescriptive when you're looking for themes. I think it's all about reading a lot. It's about talking to experts. It's about discussing as a team and putting that all together to get some sort of shortlist. And then doing that, then you now narrowed it down. But it's all about finding things that are long-term and durable because you want these themes to last for quite long. It's no use having some theme that kind of dissipates in a year. So the key that we do in all those discussions is to increase our conviction in how we think about those themes. So doing everything we can to reinforce that theme.
And Nick, when we think about themes, often people think particularly of very long-term trends that they identify over the sort of secular horizon. Are there times when we might consider something that is a little bit shorter term in terms of how it may play out?
Yeah, I mean, once again, not being prescriptive means it can be either. I think the key point is they need to be durable. Durable tends to be quite long-term in its theme. I think when we think about it, as you said, there's a top-down and a bottom-up. To a certain extent, when you pick that theme, it needs to be quite long-term. Within that theme, you're looking for things that will do quite well over the next 3 to 5 years within that theme. So although there's a big durable theme, inside of that theme, there could be a company that we're focusing on more shorter term.
And Nick, as we know, the timing into investments can make a huge difference in terms of whether that investment turns out to be a success or not. When we look at a particular theme and we go about actually investing in it, how do we sort of think about the timing, or is that not something that is really at the forefront of our minds?
Yeah, no, it has to be, because at the end of the day, the goal is to make money for our investor. It doesn't help to have some amazing theme, but then we're paying the wrong price for it. Probably the simplest one, and one we've spoken about a lot more recently, is the tech in the US. It's an amazing theme. It's a theme with longevity, but the price you're paying is too high. Another great example is India. So we get the question a lot, why aren't you invested in India? India is phenomenal. India's growth rate is going to be exceptional over the next while. But the problem is the ratings and the price you pay for those themes is just too high. So the job of an analyst and a portfolio manager at Foord is trying to understand the theme, but then combining it with the price you pay for the company or bond or instrument within that theme.
Right, so it's really that sort of marrying of that top-down part of the process, which might identify the theme or trends looking forwards, and then actually considering the price you pay for the individual investments that you actually use to sort of express that theme in the portfolio.
Yeah, I think the starting point is that the theme is just almost the filter to start thinking about things. It's not prescriptive. It's not to say do it. It's just let me identify big themes, and then within that, as you say, then go and look for the ideas.
And Nick, just to put it all together so that it sort of resonates with the people who are listening to this conversation, can you give us some examples, or sort of 1 or 2 examples of the themes that we see in the portfolios today?
Yeah, I think there are many, so I'll restrict it to just one just because of the time limit. I think we're talking about it quite a lot in the media more recently, is that kind of the US and the global debt situation that I guess is heading towards some sort of unsustainable level. South Africa is pretty similar in that there is an inflection point coming. Now, your question to me at the beginning was, is it a 5-year scheme? Is it a 10 years? We think that in the next 3 to 5 years, there could be a real issue, an inflection point in some of the government's debts, meaning it gets to a point where it gets so bad that it leads to something immediately, whether it's inflation or some sort of debt issue that they can't fund their additional supply of bonds. So I think one of the themes that we're thinking quite deeply about is just how our government debt balance is going to impact the companies that operate within those countries. Now, what that means for us as an investor is, although optically some of the shares in South Africa and the bonds look cheap because they are quite cheap, it's almost the inverse of my Indian example. we are in the back of our mind worried that somehow some issue will happen as a result of this thematic issue of this big government debt wall of supply that's coming. So that's maybe the opposite of the theme that we're talking about. These are things that we're worrying about. It's a negative theme, or a theme to be conservative about as a result of this great big debt wall that's coming.
Right, well, thanks, Nick, for your contribution, and thanks to everyone who's joined us. I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight into elements of our investment process. Foord is known for having a very distinctive top-down element to its process compared to many, and that's really about identifying forward-looking themes and trends that we think are going to materially cause the investment landscape to shift and provide immense opportunities for us to take advantage of. And just to say that it's not really about accurately predicting exactly what is going to happen when, but rather getting the broad brushstrokes correct. And we believe that that will ultimately generate much better returns than just investing in the rearview mirror. So thank you very much, Nick, for your contribution, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today.